How to select the manufacturing process for tablets and capsules. We know that tablets and capsule are the formulations which are called as the oral solid formulations or oral solid dosage forms. These are the typical formulations which are available as the unit dose formulations administered by the oral route, and 70% of the formulations are administered by the oral route. So, understanding about the oral formulations, specifically tablets and capsules, becomes very much important for the pharma professionals. This video is regarding selection of the manufacturing process for the oral formulations like tablets, capsules. You can consider this for suspension for the oral administration, or powder for suspension, powder for solution, and some others like sachets. So whenever you are working onto the oral formulations, you have to demonstrate the easy manufacturing steps, cost effective manufacturing processes, and the routine manufacturing techniques can be there to produce these formulations. That means, as the pharmaceutical industry is having the manufacturing technologies and the areas for the production, so these new technologies and the manufacturing processes are required to be developed considering the existing processes so that it will be easy to manufacture. Now the second aspect is cost. Always try to reduce the cost of the formulations, always consider the costing, and always consider the robust manufacturing process. The generic formulations are required to demonstrate the same safety and efficacy as like the reference formulations. So it is very critical to ensure that the process is robust, the process is reproducible, and the process will give you the formulation which will be in line to the reference formulation. Now another aspect of the generic formulations are like the generic formulations are required to be with the similar quality or better quality. Then they should be the bioequivalent to the reference formulation, stable, and should be robust. All these points are required to be considered while you are going for the selection of the manufacturing processes. Now consider the tablets and capsules as the formulations. So key factors for these formulations will be the API solubility, API flowability, compressibility, and the stability. Because solubility will impact dissolution, dissolution will impact the bioavailability. Flowability and compressibility will impact the processability and the easiness of the manufacturing. And stability will impact the quality throughout the shelf life. The goal of the manufacturing process selection is to ensure that the process is robust, reproducible, and cost effective. And the basis for this is API properties and the formulation requirements. Now come to the key considerations. Manufacturing process selection depends on the three main parameters: solubility of the API, flowability and compressibility, and stability, whether the API is stable to the heat, moisture, and solvents. Solubility of the API, it determines the need for solubility enhancement techniques like use of the super disintegrants, use of the surfactants, and use of the modern techniques like solid dispersion. Flowability and compressibility impacts the powder handling and the tablet quality. Also, it impacts the weight variation in the tablets and capsules. Stability towards heat and moisture, sensitivity to the heat and moisture. It guides choice between the dry and wet processes. Generally, the tablets and capsule formulations are manufactured with three main technologies like direct compression, then dry granulation involving the slugging and roller compaction, and the wet granulation. Wet granulation may be RMG based or maybe top spray FBP based. So if the API is not stable towards heat or moisture, then you need to go for the dry methods. First step is defining the QTPP and pre-formulation. So the first step in the manufacturing of the generic formulation is writing down or making the QTPP. Then assess the API characteristics, understand about the dose of the drug, what are the strengths available. Then come to the solubility and BCS class. Generally BCS class 1 and 3 are soluble and considered as easy to manufacture, but BCS class 2 and 4 are difficult to manufacture. Stability involving the chemical and physical stability, then target release profile. The product is immediate release, extended release, delayed release, prolonged release, sustained release. Based on that, QTPP parameters are required to be set. Then pre-formulation guides process and excipient selection. Then come to the solubility assessment of the API. BCS class 1 and 3 have the good solubility, so no major solubility enhancement techniques are required. BCS class 2 and 4 have the poor solubility, so apply solubility improvement strategies. Then particle size reduction, micronization, nanonization, use of the micronized API and nano size API may be there for the insoluble or low soluble APIs. Use of the hydrophilic excipients, solid dispersion, surfactants, and combination of the techniques for solubility and bioavailability enhancement for BCS class 2 and 4. Then what is the API dose strength? So low dose or high dose, like metformin is the high dose, and example pantoprazole is low dose. Low dose means the strength of the formulation is less than 25 mg generally. High dose means it is above the 25 mg or 25% you can say. Low dose are easy to manufacture, but it is difficult to have the content uniformity. Minimal segregation risk will be there. High dose increased risk of blend segregation, requires optimized process design and robust excipient selection. So the blend uniformity, content uniformity is dependent on the dose, also the amount of the API in the formulation. So don't consider that low dose formulations are easy to manufacture and high dose are difficult. It depends on the formulation and the excipients and the manufacturing process. Step 4, flowability and compressibility. If flow is good for the API and the excipients, you can go for the direct compression. It is suitable for the low to medium dose APIs, and directly compressible grades materials are used in the DC process, like spray dried lactose, spray dried mannitol, MCC with higher density and different particle sizes can be used. The dry granulation or direct compression processes are simple, fast and cost effective, and their limitation is that these are required to be avoided if poor flow or segregation risk are there. So if poor flow or compressibility, then you will need to go for the granulation. Now coming to the stability evaluation, heat and moisture sensitive APIs will require dry granulation. Suitable for the heat and moisture sensitive APIs, these improve the flow without liquid binders. Dry granulation by roller compaction and slugging can be done. But there are some risks like capping, lamination, low hardness variation, wet variation. Not sensitive to heat and moisture, go for the wet granulation. So understand the API behavior from the post degradation and stability and then select the process. Wet granulation can be done by water, hydroalcoholic, or this can be done by the organic solvents. And it is ideal for the APIs with poor flow or poor compressibility. If API is required to be dissolved in the binder to improve the solubility, then you can go for the wet granulation. Then ensure the content uniformity and you will have the good hardness tablets. Limitation of these wet granulation techniques are like these are required to be avoided if API undergoes hydrolysis or moisture degradation. So you need to make the decision considering the QTPP and pre-formulation studies. Classify the API solubility based on the BCS class. Check the dose strength whether it is low dose or high dose and amount of the API in the formulation. whether the product is tablet or capsule or sachet. Then evaluate the flowability, compressibility, stability towards heat and moisture. So you can go for the processes like direct compression, dry granulation and wet granulation. Also consider the cost in the manufacturing process selection. Always try that the process should be robust and it will give you the consistent batches with the reproducible results. This is the understanding and information about the process selection. Thank you for watching the video.